Hi, Mr. C here in the wood shop. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about measurement still. We've talked about how to figure out board feet, but we haven't talked about some of the other things that are involved. So I'd really like to just cover something real quick with you, and that's fractions and converting fractions into decimals. Now, for instance, when we purchase our lumber, not all lumber is going to come from the lumber yard in a nice, neat, easy dimension that we can go ahead and just throw it into our formula, like as far as 1 inch by 6 inches by 48 inches or something like that, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, you're going to have to do a little bit of math or a little bit of converting from a fraction to a decimal, because when we figure out board feet to figure out the cost of a board, what we need to do is we need to convert that fraction into a decimal. For instance, if this board is 8 1/4 inches wide, okay? When we figure out the board feet for the width of it, what we do is we'd say 8.25, and we wouldn't say 8 1/4, right? And to get the 0.25, what we do is we take 1 divided by 4, and our answer would be 0.25. So we have 8 full inches plus the 25, so that would give us an accurate dimension of the width of the board. Now, as you remember, the thickness of the board, we buy pretty much always in here from the lumber yard 4/4 stock, which means 1 inch thick. So when we go ahead and plug in our numbers to figure out the board feet, the thickness is going to be 1, and in this case, the width would be 8 1/4, and let's just say the length on this thing is, let's say, 48 7/8, right? So for the length on this, I would say 7 divided by 8 is 875, and then what I would do is I'd say, okay, 48.875, and that's the length that I'd use for my dimensioning as far as figuring out my board feet, okay? The one thing I want you to be able to do is to convert your fraction into a decimal. Now, inside your packet that I provided you in Schoology, in the measurement folder, you will find a sheet like this, and if you need to, just print it out, okay? Now, if you don't have a printer, or you just don't happen to have a printer with you, or you don't have this handy, you could always just take your phone and go to the mathematics portion or your calculator and take 7 divided by 8, and it's going to give you a dimension. Or if this measured, let's say, 3/8 in width, it's like 8 3/8 instead. Well, you take 3 divided by 8, and you're going to get 0.375, okay? So that way you can figure out how to convert your fraction into a decimal, okay? So you do have the sheet provided for you, and that way you can do that, so that way you can figure out your board feet accurately. Because what we're going to be doing next, in our next video, is figuring out bill of material, so that way you can figure out the exact cost of what your project's going to be, or a relatively really close estimate, okay? So I would like you to go ahead and open up your fraction and decimal sheet, and that way you can go ahead and check that out. And then there's another following sheet that is called fraction to decimal worksheet, and I want you to open that up and then do those 20 questions that are for practice before we continue on. So until next time, I'm Mr. C in the wood shop, and remember, I'm a woodworker, not a videographer. All right? Until next time, we'll see you. All right, bye.